All right, welcome back, guys. So I have seven markets I'm paying attention to for this week, and let me show you what they are. So the very first market is going to be this one, which is NZD card. So I am actually still on NZD card from last week, right? So last week I held this trade for about 4 days, and price is pretty much still at break even, right? So the reason I'm still holding this trade is simply because I have a very strong rule where if I enter a trade, I have to wait for stop loss to get hit or take profit to get hit, right? So because of that, I'm still holding NZD card the final result. Second pair for the week is GPP card. I do believe that this new week GPP card will actually buy. Not sure if it's going to buy all the way to this previous structure point, right? But I believe that this market is going to buy. So let me show you what we are looking to see this new week, right? So now the daily time frame, if you look at the daily time frame very closely, you can clearly see that this area, this blue line right here, is a very strong support and resistance level. So if you come very close, you can see that anytime we are below that area, we are selling down strongly. Anytime we are above, we are buying. Anytime we are above, we are buying. Anytime we are below, we are selling down strongly. So now we are currently above that area, as you can see. Now the market structure is actually bullish because this right here is the higher high and this right here is the higher low. Price has retraced all the way back to area of interest, had 3 days of slowdown or dojis, and now on Friday we had a very strong bullish engulfing candle. So what I believe is that on the 4 hour time frame, right? Price is just going to simply have a retracement back into this area, and once we get our entry confirmations, we'll buy this market to 1:2 or final take profit target, which will be the daily structural points right here, right? So that is the first market I'll be paying attention to for this week. Next market I'm paying attention to is NZD USD. So NZD USD, I'll actually be calling this a counter trend trade setup, right? And I'll explain why. First of all, what we have is a very strong area of interest, as you can see, and it's a very clean one. So this is the daily time frame, as you can see, and if you come very close to the daily time frame, somewhere around March 2024, price just tapped that area of interest and started buying very strongly. Same thing here around July, tapped that area and started buying very strongly. Price has been respecting this area time and time again. Once price come to that area, it tap and start going to the upside very strongly. If you are below, it will reject that area and go to the downside very strongly. Right now, price is actually currently at that area. So we are expecting a very um big movement next week, right? So what are we deciding on taking? I'll show you what we are deciding on taking. Now, weekly time frame, let's look at the weekly. Now, weekly time frame, look at the weekly very closely. You can notice that price is actually, if you look at the last week had a very strong doji. Now, what does that usually signify? It signifies that anytime we have a doji, we start changing trend, right? Anytime we have a doji, we start changing trend. Anytime we have a doji, just like this, we start changing trend. So in this case, I do believe that this market could actually start selling this new week, right? Now, um, coming over to the 4 hour now, coming over to the 4 hour, the market structure is actually bearish. So let me show you what I'm looking at to see and why I'm calling this market a counter trend trade setup. Because if you look at this market structure, you can see that this right here is the higher high and this right here is the higher low. This market structure on the daily is actually still bullish, right? Same thing with the weekly. I do believe I'll be calling this the structural point. So if that is the structural point, this right here is the lower low, this is the lower high, and price broke above, making this now what? The new higher high and higher low. So weekly is also bullish, but 4 hour is bearish, and I'm using only the 4 hour in this case, right? Just because it looks very clean. Now I might be wrong. You might decide to take this trade if you want to take it or not. But me, I am very interested in taking this market short next week, right? But for me to actually enter, if market wants to continue bullish, it should pretty much continue bullish from here right now, right? But for me to enter this market, I need market to actually break under this low again to show me that this market has been creating lower lows and lower highs, which is characteristics of a bearish market. And then when we have a retracement, I will look for entry confirmations to actually sell this market. So that's what I'm planning on doing next week, right? I do have this Euro USD is also very similar. I I will also be calling Euro USD a counter trend trade setup. But for me to be interested in this market, I need market to actually continue bearish, right? So on the 1 hour time frame, which is going to be our entry time frame, I need 1 hour to actually shift structure bearish. So I need a bearish market on the 1 hour time frame for me to actually enter. So I will actually be waiting for a cleaner break and retest under this level right here, just like this, a break, a retracement, and an engulfing to actually sell. So that's what I'm looking to see on Euro USD this week. GBP AUD is the next pair. This is not really this pair. This particular GBP AUD, right? It's just a thing I've seen time and time again. It's something called the bat pattern. You can search it up, and I'll explain what it means. Assuming the market has been trending very strongly to the upside or to the downside, and we started having multiple days of slowdown, right? And then we started shifting structure bearish, just like this. Expect this market to sell, right? Same thing if is a bullish market scenario where price has been selling strongly to the downside, started having multiple days of slowdown, and then started shifting structure bullish. I expect this market to actually buy. I've seen this pattern time and time again, and it actually plays out. So that is what basically what I'm seeing right here. Price has pretty much been selling very strongly, and then it took 8 days for price to be slowing down. As you can see, 8 days or even around roughly around 10 days, 8 to 10 days, and price has been slowing down. So that's why I believe that this market could actually end up buying. So on the daily time frame, market structure is actually bullish right now, but what I don't like is that market structure has clearly been bearish for a very long period of time. But if you look at the market structure right here, you can clearly see that this right here is the higher high because we broke above all these highs, and this is the higher low for that. Price has come back all the way back to minor area of interest, and it's now slowing down. I believe that this market could actually buy to somewhere around here, not necessarily all the way up here, right? So that is the first thing. And then on the 4 hour time frame, we are now having that, you know, the same thing I just explained, how price is now slowing down, right? So I just need a very clean break and retest and a confirmation to enter. It's a risky trade setup, but I'm willing to actually take this one, right? Next pair we have is NZD-JPY. NZD-JPY, I will explain this market in the best way possible. So we are using the daily and the 4 hour in this case, right? But if you come over to the coming over to the daily time frame, if you notice, you can see that we have a very strong resistance level right here. We came here previously and we sold down very strongly. We came there again, sold down, came there again, sold down, and we are currently around that level right now. But the market structure is currently bullish, right? If you look at the market structure, this right here is still a higher high, and this right here is still the higher low. Now, on the 4 hour time frame, one thing I'm noticing is that we are having some form of left head, and if we have this break, that will be our right shoulder, right? But market structure, you can still argue if it's bullish or bearish, but I still believe that this market could still be buying, right? Except we have this break and retest. Now, if you have this break and retest, the 4 hour will clearly be bearish, and the daily will actually shift structure bearish, right? To actually shift structure bearish. So if that happens, then we are now going to be having that 2 time frame in sync for us to potentially sell this market to the downside. So that is that for NZD-JPY. And then the last pair is actually GBP-JPY. I believe that if market has been buying market has been buying very strongly, right? For market to continue buying, we need price to actually have a new break and retest above this level, right? I'll show you how it's cleaner on the 4 hour time frame, right? So if you have a clean break and retest above this level, I believe GBP-JPY could just continue buying. So I believe so NZD-JPY and GBP-JPY have two different buyers. One could buy, one could sell. So it depends on which one is going to give us the opportunity. It depends on which one is going to give us the opportunity. But I believe that only one could actually give us the opportunity next week, right? As for gold, I also believe that gold might actually end up selling because market structure is still currently bearish. For us to sell, we need like a break and retest under this 1 hour structure point right here. Very minor area of interest. Maybe a break and retest to sell. It depends, but I don't think I'll be trading gold this new week, right? So that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys in the next video.